How do you know when it's time to upgrade your equipment? Well, there's one very easy, very simple test that we can implement to see if it's time for an upgrade. I call it the frustration test. This test occurs kind of naturally, actually. As you use your equipment over time, as you learn about it, and as you start realizing its shortcomings, you start to get frustrated more and more each time that you use it. So by the time that you're screaming at it, yelling at it, and wishing that it were broken, and of course this may take place only inside your head, it's probably time to start looking at some new equipment. You know, when you buy a piece of equipment, you're starting out usually kind of thinking, is this at the right price? Is this going to do kind of what I understand that it needs to do? And it's going to get you by for a while, right? Absolutely. That's usually why we buy things, is because we don't know any better, or we think, well, you know, I'll just kind of get by with this for a while. In fact, I've recently gone through this myself, where I had to buy a new lens, actually, is what it was, because I couldn't use the old lens that I was using. So I had to suck it up and put down the money for it because I got frustrated. So when you buy this equipment and it's at the right price range and it's going to do what you think it's going to do, and it probably will, actually, because I would hope that you do your research. You're probably also going to start watching people who are very similar to you. I would say look at what they're doing. Look at their equipment, their gear, if they ever talk about it, especially when they talk about it. Make sure to click on that video or look at that post or whatever, wherever they're posting. I don't know. And take notes. You know, sometimes these people are going to use equipment that is incredibly expensive because that's their job, right? You know, but other times it's going to be like, oh, well, you know, that was a really good hack that I can use to kind of help my equipment get a little bit further on. You know, so really pay attention to that kind of stuff. Eventually, yes, you are absolutely going to get to the point that even, you know, these little tricks that you're going to learn to make your equipment better isn't going to work quite as well as you hoped, or simply at all. And this frustration test can be applied to any form of arts. You know, if you're a painter, you know, you might go with the lower quality canvas, but eventually you're going to realize, you know what? This better canvas really is better, or paints, or, you know, for photography, it could be lenses like I talked about a moment ago. It could be just about anything. And this is going to be a cycle where you're going to buy something, you're going to outgrow it, you're going to buy a new thing, and you're going to outgrow it again. You know, so you might be kind of wondering, well, why don't I just buy the high quality, the expensive gear, just put down the investment and be done with it? Yeah, you absolutely could, all right? The reason why I don't really recommend doing this is because a lot of that high quality gear, first off, may not be exactly what you want. Like this camera that I'm using actually is called the Canon 90D. I could have bought, you know, a $5,000 camera, but I needed a camera that could span the bridges of pictures as well as video, and that was the 90D. It did 4K, and it had plenty of pixels, and about half again as many pixels, and a still image, and it was exactly what I needed, and I love it to this day. I know that I'm going to outgrow it though, and if I'd gone with the $5,000 camera, I wouldn't have some of the options that I have with this particular camera. You know, another example is that, you know, I work with very high quality professional sound systems. Like when you go to a concert, I work with that kind of stuff, like high quality, high end gear, the best of the best, right? And I learned on that stuff for the most part. I mean, there were a couple small steps before it, you know, learning smaller boards and a little bit smaller PA systems, but I worked my way up pretty quickly because, I mean, there just really wasn't a lot to get there. But it was kind of a lot to take in at once. And I mean, really, that's kind of all it was. It takes a long time to learn everything that you need to know about this. Even to this day, I'm not sure about a lot of things that's included with that PA system, because it's not just, well, you set up a speaker and you put sound into it. You have to, there's software involved, there are other pieces of gear than just the speaker or just the soundboard and the speaker. And it's, you know, there's a lot more to it, and it's about learning all of those little things, especially if there's no one that you can learn from, or the company isn't very good at, you know, helping you with this kind of stuff. So it just winds up becoming that if you buy, you know, the gear that you're not ready for, it's going to show itself very quickly, and you're probably going to get even more frustrated at that than if you just simply saved a little bit of money for now and bought it when you were actually ready for it. And one of the reasons why I think people go with the cheaper equipment is because they're looking at their wallets and they're going, I can't afford a $5,000 camera or a $10,000 microphone, or I don't know. And yeah, the $10,000 microphone is a real thing. I found that out recently. Holy, that's a lot of money for a single microphone. So it's just, how can you justify, especially as you're just starting out, and you're not always sure, like, if this is quite where I'm gonna go, that 5,000, that 10,000, $2,000, depending on what it is. I don't know. That really expensive, high quality thing. And you might be willing, saying, hey, look, I know I'm going to learn this, especially if it's social media. You absolutely should learn it. And there's going to be gear that's going to come with that you absolutely need. But I'm not saying that you need to just simply put down for it. It's an investment that you absolutely should make, but work your way up. Start with, a budget camera and some budget lighting, and work your way up to getting to the point of outgrowing it and buying the next thing in line. You say, well, you know what? This didn't work because of this. This should work because of that. And eventually you're going to outgrow that too. And it's, and I think having watched over time people in different professions, that it kind of gets to a point where it stops becoming a replacement and starts becoming like an additive thing. It's kind of interesting to watch. Where, I seem to be picking on cameras a lot, but, instead of replacing a lens, you're going to be adding another lens to it because, this one has great autofocus, but this one gives me a sharper image, so it depends on what I'm using it for, right? It could be the exact same thing other than those two things. Or, this camera is good for this and this camera is good for that. Okay, so just to kind of wrap everything about this video into a little neat bow, how do you know if you need an upgrade? Well, if you're using your equipment and you're always getting frustrated at it because it's not doing what you want it to do, what you need it to do, or what you expect it to do because it simply cannot do it, and each time you're using it, you're just getting more and more and more frustrated at it, you might want to start considering a new piece of gear, whatever that thing is. So if you think it's time for an upgrade, let me know what you think you want to upgrade down in the comments. Or what, if you had all the money in the world, what would you get? What would your ideal setup in anything be? Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.